Remember, knowledge, it ain't free. You got to pay attention and don't believe the hype.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
For some, they say it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. For us, it's about potential financial opportunities. Never bring a knife to a gunfight, and make no mistake, big money is up for grabs and this is a fight. Never settle for second best. The Past the Wire annual Kentucky Derby seminar. Nobody does it better. Preparation is key. Be better prepared, delve deeper, stealth. They won't see us coming and they won't know we're there. Money management, ticket structure, pace, all the intangibles, thoroughgraph, everything that matters to make it count, to have that edge. In the end, if things go as planned, it'll be like we stole the money.
Hey, Sure Bet Coffee. Put that giddy up in your cup. That giddy up in your cup. Sure Bet Coffee.
There's a lot of ways to handicap a horse race and a lot of ways to bet on it. But nobody that I know does it like Gio Setti and his full card, precise order handicap. Every horse in the race gets a predicted order of finish like only Gio can do, way beyond a deep dive, available exclusively on select days at Past the Wire. Himself, Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie, tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, presented by AmWager.
Ciao tutti. Kentucky Derby Radar, episode number 4 already. Time flies. We're just a little bit plus 70 days out from the, what is this, 151st, I think, maybe? I don't even know. Kentucky Derby. Be here before we know it. The preps are underway. Big prep last Saturday with the Risen Star. We'll recap that a little bit. Big prep this Saturday with the Rebel at Oaklawn Park. 1,250,000 purse, big money out over there. Doesn't mean it's the best prep yet, but big money. We'll take a little early look at that. It's only Tuesday, so a lot of time to go, but the Rebel is always a big race on the road to the Kentucky Derby. And last show that we did with Gio, talking about horses that coulda, woulda, shoulda won the Derby that didn't. Well, Nick Zito is kind of like a forgotten guy. Win a couple of Kentucky Derbies, but there's another one that he would have won. If you go back and watch the replay of a horse he ran named Icebox, this horse was coming in the stretch, got completely sandwiched and cut off, and when it happened, He caught my eye coming down the lane and looked like absolutely the winner had that not happened. So Nick Zito, who everybody's forgotten about, who won a couple of Kentucky Derbies with horses that were not as pricey and as lofty as some of the people he was competing against back then, should have had another one, in my opinion. But, the Kentucky Derby is that fluky kind of race that some horses just don't fire, and the best horse often doesn't win. Sometimes they do, and we've had a lot of favorites of late, but a lot of times the best horse just don't show up on that first Saturday in May, or gets in trouble, or something happens, and lo and behold, the best horse doesn't always win the Kentucky Derby. But great race, exciting, most exciting 2 minutes in sports, and a great day for betting opportunities, and the Oaks Day before it, for all of us that love to speculate on the outcome of horse races. So before we get into the Rebel, let's go back and look at a few key points. And what I like to do in these Derby radar shows is give us things that are going to help us going forward. Okay, maybe help us make money in future endeavors that we may get involved in. So let's keep that in mind. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that. What could I say? Going forward, that's what we're looking for. So with that, now going back and looking at the Risen Star. All right. Risen Star, pretty much assures you a berth in the Kentucky Derby. Now, going in, East Avenue had all the hype. Okay. And those of you that remember, it was a big day for the tracking trips team. Okay. We've had some rough days lately, but this was a big day. I loved East Avenue in the race at Keeneland that he won. Why? He was coming out of a maiden sprint. He was stretching out. He was going to be the speed on a speed racetrack, the only speed. Great barn, great outfit, Godolphin. Went wire to wire at Keeneland, okay? And everybody jumped all over his bandwagon. I knew there was a ton of speed in the Breeders' Cup, tossed him. He broke bad, and everybody said, well, that's why he lost, because he broke bad on the inside. I was certainly glad he broke bad because he wasn't on any of my tickets. Unfortunately, neither was the winner. But I tossed East Avenue that day because of that. And this is going to tie in to the Risen Star. In the Risen Star, a lot of people all hyped up about him coming back. And I said, you know what? There's pace in this race too. I don't know that he could sit. If he clears and he's that good, he's dangerous. If he went forward from 2 to 3, dangerous. But to me, with all this hype, he's a bet against, because the race he won and that everybody is so high on him because of was a pretty much walk the dog race. So I was against him in the Risen Star, and he tanked. Now, he did sit and looked like he was sitting in a good spot, but he tanked, and now it kind of validates my opinion of the race that he won at Keeneland. Okay, so like I say, don't believe the hype. Trust your eyes, and we are your second set of eyes. Trust that too. Eyes, yours, eyes, ours. So now with that, the Risen Star. Steve Asmussen's horse goes to the lead from the outside, far outside, but he clears the field. The track was undoubtedly very speed friendly on Risen Star Day. And Ben Curtis, hats off to him. Steve Asmussen's horses always got a lot of bottom to them. They're always ready to show up. He doesn't run short ones. He doesn't run outclassed ones. He can pop anytime. That horse got brave, went on, ran an extremely fast buyer, which means absolutely nothing to me, especially on that kind of racetrack, and ran a monster peak race. Very likely he regresses or bounces off that race. I don't know his thoroughgraph number yet, but I know he ran a big buyer. Like I said, buyer numbers mean absolutely zero to me. They're just raw speed figures. You could look at the clock and the conditions of the track and the other races that day, and you know whether he ran fast or not. You don't need a buyer number to tell you that. It doesn't incorporate any aspect of the trip, um, which has a big impact on the race and the time and how fast the horse ran or didn't run. So that means nothing to me. I'm glad that they're in the racing form, and I like them in the racing form. And I like the fact that a lot of people use them and are guided by them because it helps uh, the people really who aren't. Buyer numbers, in my opinion, are great to have in the racing form because they help us, and that's what we want. So, big buyer for the winner of the Risen Star. You could have it going forward. Is he going to get that kind of trip in the Kentucky Derby? Probably not. Looks like there's a lot of pace leading into the Derby this year, uh, which is why I lean to, no secret. My number one horse on my Derby radar, and has been for a long time, is Journalism. A little concerned that he got sick, had a little bit of a late start at 3. You don't want to see that heading into the Derby, but I got to trust in Michael McCarthy to have him ready. I think he's going to run into San Felipe. Hopefully, one more prep between that and the Derby. Maybe San Felipe, Santa Anita Derby, and ready to peak on the first Saturday in May. But that'll all unfold and play out as we go along. But you know, Steve's horse in the Risen Star, that was his day. A lot of people are on his bandwagon. A lot more people will be on his bandwagon until maybe he bounces or tanks off that race. We'll see. If he can run like that consistently, obviously he becomes a player. But I say, show me, let me see it. At this particular moment, not a believer at all. Uh, Another thing, and like I say, we like to talk about things that are going to help. Loved East Avenue in that race at Keeneland that he won. Haven't liked him since. These horses that we bet, especially leading up to the Derby, you know, we don't marry them. We bet on them. There's a big difference. You bet on a horse one time, doesn't mean you got to bet on him again. Doesn't mean you got to stick with him. Wagering loyalty, there's no correlation whatsoever. With people, there's loyalty. With horses and betting, there's no loyalty. Uh, that said, friends, loyalty. Now, you know, going into the Rebel, these horses are really starting to sort themselves out. The Risen Star, I was actually a little bit more impressed with the way Built ran, even though he didn't get it done, uh, than anybody else that was behind the winner. A couple of horses in there were in fact disappointing. I wasn't disappointed by East Avenue because I really wasn't sure. I didn't expect him to run well with all that speed. I thought he could have, but he was far from a horse that was worthy of the hype that he was getting. So there's that. Another thing, in addition to not marrying him, that I want to remind people of, and it continues, these Turfway Park horses that are running there or training there come off that racetrack and run big. I got a couple of messages this week, and everybody that reached out, thank you so much. Don from Dallas, I appreciate the message. A lot of people, have reached out over the past couple of weeks about this, but this week we had about 3, 4, maybe even 5 that have made money using these Turfway Park horses. Love when that happens. They're running big all over the place. I bet one in the Sunland Park Derby, Touchy, ran third, but got absolutely left in the gate under Joel Rosario. I don't know. That was a very, very speed-friendly track as well that day. So I don't know that he could have won even if he broke. But those horses are running big all over the place. Pay attention to them. Now, Rebel. we'll run down the field. Interesting race, competitive race. Like I said, a cool 1.2 million. Well, actually 1.250 purse. Mile and the 16th. Uh, Short stretch race at Oaklawn Park. I think they finish at the 16th pole, the first finish line, which I hate that shit. It should be one finish line. I just hate those configurations. But what are you going to do? It's one of the many, many, many things that racing has failed to perfect, and that's the configuration of some of their racetracks. The old Belmont starting those mile and a quarter races on the turn, Saratoga, the Wilson Chute. A lot of people love the down the hill course and the turf course at Santa Anita and Smithton. I don't like turf horses running across a patch of dirt. I think that's ridiculous. But again, nobody's asking us about that. So that's all shit for another day. So let's take a look at the Rebel. Then we'll wrap up with the Kentucky Derby leaderboard and hopefully get home early. Okay, Coal Battle from the rail. A lot of people like him. He does have some diversity to him. He did win the Springboard Mile. He did come back and validate that in the Smarty Jones. He'll get his share of attention in the Rebel. He's on a 3-race win streak. He's 4 for 4 on the dirt. I'm not sold. Not sure. There was a heck of a lot in the Smarty Jones. Kale's Angel did come back and win, but I'm pretty sure he won sprinting. Mo Quality was a big disappointment. So Coal Battle from the rail is going to have to prove it to me. Now, if he does step up and win his 5th on the dirt, then he may get my attention a little bit. But until he does, against a little bit of a better field, which I think this might be, I'm not on his bandwagon yet. And I think, we'll find out a lot more about him on Saturday. Admiral Dennis, you always got to respect Brad Cox. This might be his 3rd, 4th, 5th stringer. And he's in a race this expensive. That tells you the kind of bond that Brad has right now. But he's kind of got a good, bad pattern coming up to what might be a bad race on that Z pattern, that zigzag pattern that I don't really love. He won on Lasix last time, comes off Lasix this time. I will say this, he's got the right style for this particular race. And even for the Derby, because he likes to sit right off the pace, not too far back, not too close, which I think is ideal. He's one that I am definitely watching. Would I be betting on him Saturday? No. But he's definitely one I'm watching to see if he's for real or not. And he don't have to win to show us that he's for real. He's just got to run good, take dirt, overcome some adversity, and put 2 good races together. Not necessarily win. So Admiral Dennis is on the radar for the Rebel as a horse to watch to see if he belongs in the upper echelon of 3-year-olds, and if he's a horse that I think needs to be taken seriously when we get to that first Saturday in May. So very curious to see how he runs. Not betting him on Saturday, but watching him close. When I watch the replay, which I'll watch several times, he will be one of the ones that I watch isolated and just check out every move he makes. We're clocking Admiral Dennis. Sandman, not a fan. A lot of people like him. He just looks like he's okay to me. Speed King went wire to wire in that race. I like another horse better than him in that race. He did break a little awkwardly. He was wide. He did finish well. There's, some positives there, but he throws in his share of clunkers. On his best day, he's a contender, but I'm not sold on him. Hypeness, very interesting from Ken McPeak. I always respect the horse that can win going long around 2 turns, first time out. You got to pay attention to that. It's not easy to do. He's an into mischief out of an Uncle Mo mare. Got to pay attention to that. It doesn't get much better. He also won going long around 2 turns, 1 for 1 in the slot. Got to pay attention to that. Now, he was 16 to 1. So maybe it was the slop, maybe it was a weak field, maybe. Find out a lot more about him on Saturday. Another one I'll be paying close attention to. Not betting on, it's a big ask, uh, but watching for future reference, hypeness. Mattocket Road. I liked Mattocket Road last time out. He was the third Baffert entry, I believe, in a 5-horse field. Uh, the longest price of the three. Didn't get it done. Frankie rode him really, really hard. Doesn't ride him back. Irad rides him. That was a 2-turn race. Citizen Bull is starting to look more and more for real. Derby horse, I'm not saying that. Another pure speed horse, but he did win the Sunland race. Was it the Sunland race? No, that was Getaway Car. He come back and win somewhere, the California race, whatever it was. But he's looking more and more for real. He come back from the Breeders' Cup victory and win. He's looking serious, but like I said, speed. Oh, this was the race he won. I'm sorry, the Lewis. I'm looking right at it. Okay. I don't know about Mattocket Road. I really was high on him. I thought he'd run better. I didn't like his last race, but I'm not going to give up on Bob Baffert at this point. If he's sending him there, maybe he goes forward in the second start at 2 turns. Maybe Irad rides him a little differently. Like I said, Frankie did really push him and try and get him into the race, and I thought, oh, good move at the time. Maybe he'll get me home at a lofty 5-1 in a 5-horse field for Bob, but it wasn't meant to be. But I'm gonna give him a shot in the Rebel, definitely, especially when Bob ships to Oakland Park. He doesn't fool around. Well, he doesn't fool around with ships anywhere. But when he had a run at Oakland Park for a while that was like ridiculous. He owned the place. So I'm going to pay attention to him. Publisher completely tanked in his first start at Oakland. Steve runs him right back and makes a jockey switch from Eric Asmussen to Flavian Pratt. Pratt takes the call. Interesting. Rough trip last time out. Maybe that was an excuse. I'm going to say that Maiden against winners in the Rebel, major jockey switch, comes off the pace. I want somebody coming off the pace. I give him a big shot on Saturday at what theoretically should be a very, very, very fair price. Now, the track plays against closers, and I'm really liking closers in this race. So we're going to need some help, and we're definitely going to need an honest, fair racetrack. But again, looking at these closers, maybe using them, but knowing this might not be that day, but these are horses that we can watch going forward if they don't get up in the Rebel, which is playing against them track wise and Oakland configuration wise. So Publisher is another one. Watch closely on Saturday and see if he's for real, because I have a feeling that he is, and he just hasn't had that light bulb go off yet. So let's see what happens with him. Dreaming in Blue broke his maiden going 6 furlongs, stretches out. He has gone a mile at Oakland before. Big ask, in my opinion, for him. I don't like him. Innovator likes to win. Ran a heck of a race to Disco Time, who merits respect. Into Lecomte, now back on his, back where he ran 2 races before that and ran good in both of them at Oakland. Has speed, young kid. Bacon rides him. A lot of pace. Part of the pace. Tough for me to like a pace horse in here. Smoking Wicked, another pace horse coming out of sprints. Louisiana bred, coming out of restricted races. You're going to have to prove it. Bullet, very interesting in this spot. Now, Bullet is another horse that fit the don't believe the hype criteria, but that was, in my opinion, in the San Vicente. when I bet Barnes against him hard. Why? Because in the Bob Hope, he had to win. They went 22, 44, 109 in front of him. Alberto was sitting in the garden spot, ran past everybody like they were standing still, or so it appeared. Had to win that race. It was a dream setup. You couldn't have wrote it or scripted it any better. Coming out of that race, the San Vicente played completely different, and he was exposed. Not only did he not win, he couldn't even get second. But that was then, this is now. I trust my instincts when it comes to horses. And instincts in horse racing is like invaluable. Invaluable, especially if you've been playing this game for a long time. Your gut, always trust your gut, man. Never steer you wrong. Now, Bullard is fascinating in this spot to me, even though I thought he was an absolute bet against last time. Now, Mike McCarthy has journalism in him. I do think journalism is more of a Derby horse right now. But Bullard is getting my attention in this race. And Gio has been high on him, and I think even has an advanced bet on him in the Derby for a while. Okay? Now, here's my thought on Bullard. Bullard is a gun runner, so the distance should be no problem. All right? He's an off-the-pace sprinter, and I'm reluctant to bet them going long the first time out. But he is a gun runner, and Mike McCarthy knows his way around good horses. Sprint to route, he's about 13, 14%, 15%. Here you have a horse that if he can sit and relax and shut down around those two turns and not be too far back with too much to do, which pace-wise and the amount of natural speed he has should put him in that position, laying fourth, fifth, and he can maintain that rally going two turns. See, a lot of times when closers go two turns the first time, people like them more, say, oh, they're going to love the added distance. And eventually they very well may. But that first time, a lot of times, they don't have that same kick as they do going to one turn or sprinting. So off-the-pace sprinters are very, very, very tricky going long the first time out. So to me, Bullard does look like he shuts down and relaxes early and then makes that run. Now, if he does that and can make that kind of run going two turns on Saturday, I think he's extremely, extremely dangerous in the Rebel. And if he does that and wins, then he will be a horse that I'm looking at going forward. Absolutely. Because to win off the pace in a race like this, going two turns the first time out of those sprints, would absolutely get my attention. His workouts are excellent. Rispoli is outstanding. I'm very, very interested to see how Bullard runs on Saturday, and he is one of the ones I will be using. Speed King. It kind of reminds me of East Avenue. People are going to like him because of that Southwest. Got the lead. Did take some heat, but got the lead. Rode a speedy track. Going to get pace pressure today. Saturday, rather. I don't want any part of him. Sheridan's Baytown. I don't know. Look, coming out of a $40,000 claimer looks a cut below these to me. If he's a Derby horse, I'd be surprised. Tistastic, another one I think is extremely interesting here. Comes out of that Speed King race with Speed King in wire to wire. Did not like the trip he had at all. He goes from Keith Asmussen to Jose Ortiz. Major jockey switch. No knock on Keith, but he doesn't have the experience of Jose. Tistastic to me, extremely, extremely dangerous. Again, off the pace horse on a not friendly to off the pace horse track. Track that's not friendly to off the pace horses. So that's a knock against, but definitely one to watch going forward. And I'll take my shot using him on Saturday. Should be a good price, but we'll see. Hot Gunner, Looks outgunned, in my opinion. So that's all I've got to say about him. So the Rebel, very interesting race. Could have some Derby contenders. The ones that I will be watching with that in mind are Admiral Dennis. I explained why. Hypeness. I explained why. Matticat Road. Publisher. I explained why. Bullard, I explained why, and last but certainly not least, Tistastic, and I explained why with him as well. All of those horses, which is why it's such a competitive field, not only can win on Saturday, but all of them are horses that, to me, can cast themselves onto my short Derby radar list. And right now, there's only 2 or 3 horses on it. There's Journalism, uh, Treaty of Rome, unfortunately, fell by the wayside, who I was high on, but he either bled or got hurt or something went amiss with him. Uh, but I've got Journalism. I've got Barnes. There's a couple of others that I'm waiting for. Chance and McPatrick. I don't know what he's going to do. When he's going to come back, he's looking more like maybe a Preakness type of horse or a one start and then Derby type of horse. And if Chad does that, I got to pay attention. But we'll see. McAfee, Rick Dutro's horse, I think is supposed to run this week. I'm not even sure. I don't know where he's going to wind up. So, those are ones that was on my, outside list. But they're really only 2. And then there's the player to be named later from the Baffert Bond, because Bob's always got one that you haven't seen yet. That may jump up and run off the screen and wind up in the Santa Anita Derby, run off the screen in that, and wind up in the starting gate on the first Saturday in May. Bob Baffert can do that, and there's no year he'd rather do that than this year. Although he wants to do it every year, I'm sure he wants to really, really do it this year. And if he does that, watch out. So those are the only 3, and one of them has no name that I can mention at this point because we're not quite sure who it is. But there's Journalism, and there's who's the other one I said? Barnes, and player to be named later from Bob's Barn. The others are all fringe players at this point, but there's, like I said, a couple in here that may make my short list. My Derby rate, I don't have a Derby dozen like Steve Haskin has. Sovereignty. There's a horse in here that ran against Sovereignty. There's a couple of them actually. Tistastic ran second to Sovereignty. He was very high on a lot of people's lists. He's on my peripheral radar at this point. Let's see where he goes and what he does next time out. So I like to keep my list very short and compact. I don't want to, a lot of horses on it, and come Derby day, it'll only be 2 or 3, hopefully. So maybe 1. Let's see. If Journalism turns out to be as good as I'm hoping for that race, then he may be the only one. But we'll see what happens. There's a long way to go. So, Ashbet, let me just take a quick look at something else. You do have the Razorback, which is a nice race on the undercard. But you do have the Philly race. What is it called? I forget. It's the Honeybee. You got Phillies heading hopefully to the Oaks. Mohima, undefeated for Brad Cox, has the rail. Definitely one to watch in there. A couple of others. We're not really going to go into the Phillies on this show. But, she's one I've been waiting for to run back and see what she could do. But there's a lot of pace in that race too. But from the rail, she might be able to clear anyway. So we'll see. But the Rebel, extremely interesting. A lot of horses for me to pay attention to and see if we could, add 1 or maybe 2 to our Derby radar. And so important to realize that they don't have to win. They can just run a race that kind of is a tell that shows what they can do or what they might do going forward. And I don't like horses in the Derby that have already peaked. I like horses that are going to peak and that are coming to a peak. And, Maybe this year I'll do the Thoroughgraph show again. And we'll see what the patents say, who's going forward. I mean, that show's been very, very successful. And the Thoroughgraph numbers have always been spot on since we've been doing those shows. The only time we haven't pegged the winners is when I've interpreted the patterns incorrectly, but the numbers have always been there, so they don't lie. I just got to make sure I interpret them right. Most of the times I do, but nobody is flawless in this game. This is a game where every single one of us is going to be wrong more than we're going to be right. So the key is knowing how to bet, knowing what to do, money management, ticket structures, not making bad bets. That's what it all comes down to. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters is that. All that matters. So with all that said, thanks everybody for tuning in. Derby Radar 4 already. I hope that you are all catching Jim's recap shows, Morning Coffee on Sunday mornings where he recaps the races, tracking trips, ride with us, you'll never starve. Derby seminar coming up. The announcement when to join will come out and how to join very, very soon. We're just kind of getting going, but all good stuff. Gio's doing his thing. We will all be doing shows together. A lot going on scheduling wise. We got some great interviews up there. A lot of content, but we haven't all three of us been able to get together. Charles is doing great with his show. Eddie C's meeting a lot of people and putting up a lot of content. So we got a lot of stuff going. We just haven't been able to get Saratoga 3, Gio, Jim, and myself together. Scheduling is tough, man. Everybody's got a lot of shit going on. So, but we will definitely all be back together. Thanks for the support. Hit the like button. Show some love. Of course, only if you like the show. If you didn't, I'm sorry. But while you're watching, if you don't like us, although we get a lot of people that watch that don't like us for some reason. Find that bizarre, but thanks anyway. Anyway, ciao. We'll be back soon. Tracking trips have passed the wire. There is no better time than now to join and ride with this clan. We'll be your second set of expert trained eyes. We ain't gonna buy you a fish. Sure, we'll give you some, but more importantly, we'll show you how to fish and make you a better. CAWs, sharks in the water, no problem. We'll go against anybody, and we have the track record to prove it. Big days, big pools, and select days all year long. We'll outplay them all. Looking for an ace? You're in the right place. Want to find that diamond? Be with us. Want to know more? Just ask a member or visit us at passthewire.com and check out the Tracking Trips page. Nobody does it better.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses.
His name is Cyberknife!
Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
World of Kingdom Nutrition, your #1 source for healthy horses and fast finishes. Make sure your horses stay strong and healthy with the balanced mineral profile of Healthy Bones. This veterinarian recommended supplement helps foals, weanlings, and yearlings grow and develop. Healthy Bones also helps speed up recovery so your horses stay in training longer and race more often. Our 100% all-natural Appetite supplement helps relieve sensitive stomachs so that your horses can eat up and get faster on the track. Kingdom Nutrition. We stand by our products with a 100% money-back guarantee. Call Justin today because Kingdom Nutrition makes healthy horses and fast finishes. Welcome to Past the Wire TV, your #1 source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Past the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Louis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Blood. That makes you related. Loyalty. That makes you family. Nobody does it better.